Jack Bennett stood by the window in the Earth Embassy, looking out at the massive space station that housed the Galactic Confederation headquarters. 3 years had passed since humans made first contact, but they were still treated like children at the adults' table. Admiring the view again? Megan Harper walked up beside him, her formal diplomatic uniform crisp and perfect. "Just thinking about how far we've come and how far they won't let us go," Jack said. As a diplomatic aide, Jack spent most days filing reports and translating alien communications. Few people knew he had once been a champion poker player back on Earth, or that he had served as a military strategist before gambling problems derailed his career. "The reception starts in 30 minutes, Megan reminded him. "Ambassador Nichols wants everyone on their best behavior. The Vexillar representatives will be there." Jack groaned. The Vexillar were the worst. Tall, gray-skinned aliens with complex ridges on their foreheads that changed colors with their moods. They considered themselves the smartest species in the Confederation and never missed a chance to look down on humans. "I'll be professional," Jack promised, though his fingers tapped against his leg in that old nervous habit. The reception hall buzzed with conversation in a dozen different languages. Aliens of all shapes and sizes mingled, drinking strange liquids and eating foods that would poison humans. Jack stood near the refreshment table, watching. Ambassador Krizat of the Vexillar entered with his entourage. They moved through the crowd like they owned the place, their head ridges glowing with soft blue light, a sign of their supposed intellectual superiority. Jack tried to stay away, but fate had other plans. As he reached for a drink, he bumped right into the Vexillar ambassador. "Pardon me," Jack said quickly. Krizat looked down at him. "Ah, a human. Tell me, how does your species manage interstellar affairs when your decision-making is so influenced by emotion rather than logic?" Several nearby aliens turned to watch. Jack felt his face grow hot. "We manage just fine," he said. "In fact, humans can outthink any species when the stakes are high enough." Krizat's head ridges flickered with amusement. "Is that so? Your species can barely grasp simple probability equations. Just yesterday, your trade representative made an offer that any child of our world would know was disadvantageous." Jack clenched his jaw. "Maybe we understand things you don't, like reading others, seeing past the numbers." "A charming fairy tale," Krizat said. "But games of chance and skill require mathematical precision, not your human intuition." "Something," snapped in Jack. Years of being talked down to, of humanity being kept on the sidelines, boiled over. "Care to test that theory? I challenge you to a game of Texas Hold'em poker. If humans are so inferior at decision-making, you should have no problem beating me." The room went quiet. Even aliens who didn't understand English sensed the tension. "Poker? Your primitive gambling ritual?" Krizat's ridges now glowed purple with interest. "Yes, a game of strategy, psychology, and yes, some probability. I bet a human can beat a Vexillar any day." Megan appeared at Jack's side, her eyes wide with warning. But it was too late. "An interesting proposal," Krizat said. "And what shall we wager on this contest? Something worthy of diplomatic attention, perhaps." Jack hadn't thought that far ahead, but he couldn't back down now. "If I win, humans get a seat on the Interstellar Trade Commission." Gasps echoed around the room. The commission controlled trillions in commerce throughout the galaxy. No new species had been granted membership in over 50 years. Krizat's ridges flashed bright yellow. Surprise then settled into a deep orange of confidence. "Very well. And if you lose, Earth will cede mining rights to your asteroid belt for the next 20 years. Jack felt the blood drain from his face. Earth's asteroid belt was humanity's primary source of rare minerals. Without it, human expansion would grind to a halt. Before he could respond, Ambassador Nichols pushed through the crowd, face pale with shock. But Krizat was already extending his four-fingered hand. "Do we have an agreement, human?" Jack looked around at the watching aliens, at Megan's horrified expression, and at the smug confidence on Krizat's face. He took the alien's hand. Deal. News of Jack's challenge spread across Earth and the Confederation like wildfire. Within hours, every major news outlet on the planet reported the story. Human aid gambles Earth's future in poker game with aliens. The next morning, Jack sat in Ambassador Nichols' office, staring at the floor, while the ambassador paced back and forth. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Nichols asked, his voice strained. "You've put Earth's entire economic future at risk over a card game." "I'm sorry, sir," Jack said. "I lost my temper." Megan stood by the door, arms crossed. "We've been trying to withdraw the challenge through official channels, but the Vexillar are refusing. They say backing out would prove humans are too emotional and unreliable for advanced diplomacy," Nichols added. Jack looked up. "I can win this. I was one of the best poker players on Earth before you lost everything gambling," Megan finished. "We checked your background. Your military record was excellent until you were discharged for gambling debts." Jack winced. His past was catching up with him. The office door slid open and Commander Allison Grant of the Earth Defense Force walked in. Her face was grim. "The Confederation Council just ruled," she announced. "Under the Cultural Exchange Protocol, the challenge is legally binding. We can't back out." Nichols collapsed into his chair. "When is this game supposed to happen?" "1 month from today," Commander Grant replied. "It will be held in the Nexus, their main gathering place." 1 month, Jack repeated. "That's enough time for me to prepare." Megan shook her head. "The Vexillar don't just want to win, Jack. They want to humiliate us. They're assigning their best game theorist, Sub-Commander Trelvon, to play against you." "I've heard of him, Commander," Grant said. "He's designed battle strategies for 3 interstellar conflicts, never lost." Jack stood up. "Poker isn't just math. It's about reading people, taking calculated risks, knowing when to bluff. And you think you can out-bluff an alien species that's been studying psychology for 10,000 years?" Nichols asked. "I have to try," Jack said. "This is my mess. I'll fix it." After the meeting, Jack returned to his small apartment on the station. His personal computer was flooded with messages, some from friends offering support, others from strangers on Earth cursing his name. He ignored them all and pulled up everything he could find on the Vexillar. Their biology, their culture, their approach to games and strategy. If he was going to beat them, he needed to understand them. A knock on his door interrupted his research. It was Megan. "I came to tell you something," she said, walking in without waiting for an invitation. "I used to play poker, too, professionally before I joined the diplomatic corps." Jack blinked in surprise. "You never mentioned that." "It wasn't relevant until you decided to bet humanity's future on a flush draw," she replied. "Look, you messed up, but now we need to maximize our chances of winning." She sat down across from him. "The Vexillar think poker is just math. They'll calculate odds perfectly, but they don't understand human deception." "They're head ridges," Jack said. "I've been studying them. They change color with their emotions." "Could be a tell." Megan nodded. "Now you're thinking we have 1 month to develop a strategy they won't expect." Jack's computer chimed with an incoming message. The sender was unknown, but the content made both humans stare. "Earth representative," it read. "I am Zaltar of the Drell. My species has suffered under Vexillar arrogance for centuries. I have information about their weaknesses. Meet me tomorrow in the lower market, Section 7. Jack and Megan exchanged looks. "Could be a trap," she said. "Or our first advantage," Jack replied. Meanwhile, in the Vexillar Enclave, Ambassador Krizat watched as Sub-Commander Trelvon analyzed thousands of recorded poker games from human history. "Their game is mathematically simple," Trelvon reported, his head ridges glowing with confidence. "The optimal strategy can be calculated." "Do not underestimate them," Krizat warned. "Humans are unpredictable. That makes them dangerous." "Unpredictability is a weakness, not a strength," Trelvon replied. "I will defeat this human and secure our dominance for decades to come." Jack made his way through the crowded lower market of the station. Section 7 was home to shops and stalls run by dozens of alien species. The air smelled of strange foods and chemicals, and the noise of bartering in multiple languages created a constant buzz. He kept his head down, following Megan's advice to avoid drawing attention. Many aliens now recognized him as the poker human, and not all were friendly. Some had placed large bets against him. "Human Jack," a voice whispered from a dark alcove between stalls. "Over here." Jack turned to see a Drell. The alien was small, with blue-green skin and large, dark eyes. This was Zaltar, the mysterious informant who had reached out to him. "Follow me," Zaltar said. "Not safe to talk here." They walked through a maze of narrow corridors until they reached a small, private room filled with cushions instead of chairs. The door sealed behind them. "Why help me?" Jack asked. "What did the Drell gain from this?" Zaltar's skin rippled, a sign of emotion in his species. "The Vexillar have dominated the Trade Commission for too long. They block other species from advancing. If you win, maybe things change." The alien handed Jack a small device. "This contains information about Vexillar biology. Their head ridges do more than show emotion. They are connected to their thinking process. When they lie or hide information, blood flow changes." Jack took the device. "You're saying I can tell when they're bluffing?" "If you know what to look for," Zaltar replied. "The colors shift in specific patterns." This was a huge advantage. Jack thanked the alien, who disappeared as quickly as he had appeared. Back in his apartment, Jack studied the information while waiting for Megan. His computer screen showed a connection to Earth, where two of the planet's best poker players waited to help him train. "Jack, can you hear us?" Steve Owens asked. The old poker champion had won 5 World Series tournaments before retiring. "Loud and clear," Jack replied. "We've been reviewing what you sent us about the Vexillar," Lily Chen added. Her expertise was in reading opponents and spotting tells. Megan arrived and joined the call. For the next 3 hours, they developed a training plan. Jack would need to practice against different styles of play while learning to spot the subtle Vexillar tells. "The key is to be unpredictable," Lily explained. "They'll expect perfect mathematical play. You need to throw in moves that make no sense on paper but have psychological impact." Meanwhile, across the station, Sub-Commander Trelvon sat in a sterile room surrounded by holographic displays. Each showed different aspects of poker strategy. He had been studying for days without breaks, absorbing every nuance of the game. "Your focus is impressive," Ambassador Krizat said as he entered. "How goes the preparation?" "The game is simple," Trelvon replied. "I have calculated optimal responses to any possible scenario." "And what of the human element, their unpredictability?" Trelvon's head ridges glowed with confidence. "Random actions only decrease their chances of success. I have run 10,000 simulations. The human has no path to victory." Back in Jack's apartment, the training intensified. Megan played hand after hand against him, trying different strategies. "You're playing too logically," she said after winning 3 hands in a row. "Think about what the Vexillar will expect, then do something different." Jack nodded and changed his approach. In the next hand, he made a bet that seemed irrational based on the cards. Megan was caught off guard and folded. "That's it?" she said with a smile. "That's how you'll beat them." As the days passed, word spread through the Confederation. The game between human and Vexillar had become the biggest event in years. Species from across the galaxy placed bets. A major gambling syndicate run by the Procyon species announced the odds, 20-1 against the human. Jack watched as news reports showed crowds gathering at viewing areas across Earth. Billions of humans would watch the game. The pressure was enormous. "What if I can't do this?" Jack asked Megan during a break in their training. "What if I fail?" "Then we pick ourselves up and find another way forward," she replied. "But I don't think you'll fail. You have something the Vexillar don't understand." "What's that?" "The human heart," she said. "Sometimes it beats the best computer in the universe." The day of the game arrived. Jack stood at the entrance to the Nexus, the massive amphitheater at the center of the Confederation station, his stomach twisted with nerves. "Ready?" Megan asked, standing beside him in her formal diplomatic uniform. Jack nodded, though he didn't feel ready at all. "As I'll ever be." They walked through the doors into a scene unlike anything Jack had imagined. The amphitheater held thousands, of aliens from across the galaxy. Hovering cameras broadcast the event to billions more. At the center stood a simple table with 2 chairs, spotlighted dramatically. "They certainly made this a spectacle," Commander Grant said, joining them. She wore her full military dress uniform, representing Earth's defense forces. Ambassador Nichols approached, his face tight with worry. "The Confederation Council is here, along with representatives from 27 species. No pressure." Jack tried to smile but couldn't quite manage it. He looked up at the viewing boxes surrounding the arena. In one, Ambassador Krizat sat with other Vexillar officials, their head ridges glowing with confident blue light. "It's time," Megan said, placing a hand on Jack's shoulder. "Remember everything we practiced." Jack walked toward the table. From the opposite side, Sub-Commander Trelvon approached. The Vexillar was tall and gray-skinned, with complex head ridges that pulsed with cool colors. He wore a formal robe decorated with mathematical symbols. They met at the table. A Confederation official stood between them. "This contest will follow the human game rules of Texas Hold'em poker," the official announced, voice amplified throughout the arena. "Best of 3 rounds. The stakes have been recorded and are binding under Confederation law." Jack and Trelvon sat across from each other. The table activated, creating a holographic display visible to all spectators. "I have studied your game thoroughly," Trelvon said, his voice flat and even. "I have memorized all 169 possible starting hands and calculated optimal play for every scenario." Jack didn't respond. He focused on controlling his breathing, watching the Vexillar's head ridges. According to Zaltar's information, he needed to establish a baseline for the aliens' normal patterns. "Begin round 1, the official announced. A robotic dealer distributed the cards. Jack looked at his hand, 7 and 2 of different suits. One of the worst starting hands possible. He folded immediately. Trelvon's head ridges flickered with a hint of surprise. He had expected Jack to play emotionally, to take risks. Instead, Jack folded hand after hand, playing extremely tight. An hour passed. Jack had barely played any hands, folding most and making small bets only with premium cards. The audience grew restless. This wasn't the exciting game they had expected. Trelvon's head ridges now showed flickers of frustration. His calculated strategy depended on gathering data from Jack's play, but the human wasn't giving him much to work with. "Your strategy is flawed," Trelvon said. "You cannot win by not playing." Jack remained silent, waiting for the right moment. It came when he was dealt pocket aces, the best starting hand. Rather than betting big as the book suggested, he made a small bet, pretending weakness. Trelvon took the bait, raising aggressively. Jack remembered the pattern Zaltar had shown him. When bluffing, Vexillar head ridges showed a specific pulse pattern. Trelvon wasn't bluffing. He had a strong hand too. Jack called the bet. The flop came. Ace, king, queen. Jack now had 3 ices, an extremely strong hand. Instead of showing excitement, Jack deliberately displayed signs of nervousness that Trelvon had been briefed to look for in humans. He wiped his brow, his hands trembled slightly. Trelvon raised again, confident. Jack called. The turn and river cards changed nothing. When the final bets were placed, Jack revealed his 3 aces. Trelvon showed a king and queen, 2 pair. Jack won the pot. For the first time, Trelvon's head ridges flashed with alarm. The Vexillar delegates in the viewing box leaned forward, their confidence shaken. "Perhaps you are not playing as expected," Trelvon said. Jack allowed himself a small smile. "Poker isn't just about the cards you hold, it's about the person holding them." In the audience, Megan exchanged looks with Commander Grant. The game was just beginning, but Jack had landed the first psychological blow. Maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. The first round continued with Jack maintaining his lead. His stack of chips grew slowly but steadily. Trelvon studied every move Jack made, trying to find a pattern, but the human kept changing his approach. "Your play is inconsistent," Trelvon noted after Jack made a large bet with what turned out to be a weak hand. "That's poker," Jack replied with a shrug. In the diplomatic box, Megan watched nervously. He's doing well, but the Vexillar are quick learners. Ambassador Nichols nodded. They're recording everything, building a profile. On the main viewing screen, the chip count showed Jack ahead by 30%. The crowd's mood shifted. Species that had bet heavily on the Vexillar began to worry. Others who had supported the human out of spite for the Vexillar grew excited. Back at the table, the dealer pushed out new cards. Jack looked down at a queen and jack of spades, a decent hand. He made a standard bet. Trelvon's head ridges pulsed as he calculated. He called the bet. The flop came. 10 of spades, king of spades, 2 of hearts. Jack now had a straight draw and a flush draw, many ways to make a strong hand. He kept his face neutral and bet again. Trelvon called quickly. Jack noticed the aliens. Head ridges were showing the same pattern as when he had a strong hand earlier. The turn card was the ace of spades. Jack now had a royal flush, the best possible hand in poker. His heart pounded, but he kept his expression calm. He needed to get maximum value from this monster hand. He made a medium-sized bet, pretending caution. Trelvon's ridges glowed brightly. The Vexillar raised 3 times Jack's bet. Jack paused, pretending to consider, then raised again. Trelvon raised once more. In the audience, Megan gripped the railing. "He's got something big," she whispered to Commander Grant. The river card was a meaningless 3 of hearts. Jack pushed all his chips into the middle. All in. Trelvon's ridges flashed with multiple colors as he calculated the possibilities. After a long moment, he called. "Royal flush," Jack said, turning over his cards. The audience erupted. No one had expected to see the rarest hand in poker. Trelvon revealed his hand. A full house, aces full of kings. A very strong hand, but not enough. "A statistically improbable outcome," Trelvon said, his voice flat despite the massive loss. Jack collected the chips, now holding a commanding lead. Just a few more good hands and he would win the first round. A break was called. Jack walked to the side where Megan waited. "That was amazing," she said. "A royal flush." "Lucky," Jack admitted, "but I played it right. Made him think I was bluffing." "Don't get overconfident," she warned. "They're analyzing everything." In the Vexillar viewing box, Ambassador Krizat was furious. "How is this human defeating our best strategist?" "The royal flush was pure luck," an aide said. 1 in 649, 740 hands. "But his overall play is effective," Krizat replied. "Trelvon must adapt." When play resumed, Jack noticed a change in his opponent. Trelvon began playing more aggressively, pushing Jack back on his heels. The Vexillar won several small pots in a row, slowly chipping away at Jack's lead. Then came a crucial hand. Jack had a pair of 9s, a middle strength hand. Trelvon bet big before the flop. Jack called. The flop showed another 9, giving Jack 3 of a kind. He checked, hiding his strong hand. Trelvon bet again, and Jack called. The turn was a king. Jack checked again. Trelvon pushed a massive amount of chips forward. Jack had to decide. Was Trelvon bluffing, or did he have a hand that beat 3 9s? He studied the Vexillar's head ridges carefully. The pattern was different from before, a new tell he hadn't seen. Jack couldn't be sure what it meant. After a long moment, he called. The river card was another king. Now the board showed 2 kings. Jack checked again. Trelvon pushed all his remaining chips in. All in. Jack had to make the biggest decision of the round. If he called and lost, his lead would vanish. If he folded, he would still be ahead but would lose momentum. The entire arena held its breath. Jack stared at Trelvon, searching for any clue in the alien's face and head ridges. After what seemed like forever, he pushed his cards away. "I fold," he said. Trelvon's head ridges flickered with what might have been satisfaction. The Vexillar showed his cards. He had pocket kings, giving him 4 of a kind with the 2 kings on the board. Jack had made the right call by folding his 3 9s. The momentum shifted. Hand after hand, Trelvon clawed back Jack's lead. The Vexillar had adjusted, becoming less predictable, mimicking Jack's own strategy. In the final hand of the first round, Jack lost a large pot when his flush draw didn't complete. Trelvon had enough chips to win the round. Round 1 to the Vexillar. Representative, the official announced. The crowd roared. Ambassador Krizat stood in his viewing box, head ridges glowing bright with triumph. Jack walked to the break area, his heart heavy. Megan and Commander Grant were waiting. I was ahead, Jack said. Then he adapted so quickly. They learn fast, Commander Grant said. That's their strength. Megan handed him a drink. This isn't over. Best of 3, remember? Jack nodded, but felt doubt creeping in. The old feelings from his gambling days returned. The panic when losing, the temptation to make desperate moves. I'm not sure I can beat him, he admitted. He figured out my tells, my patterns. That's because you're still playing by the book, Megan said. You need to tap into what makes humans different. What's that? Intuition, creativity, the willingness to take risks that make no mathematical sense. Jack took a deep breath. She was right. He had been playing solid poker, but still too predictable for the Vexillar's analytical mind. When round 2 began, Jack sat at the table with a new determination. The first few hands were small, with both players being cautious. Then Jack received a 7 and a 2 of different suits, the same terrible hand he had folded in the very first hand of the match. Instead of folding, he raised. Trelvon tilted, his head slightly head ridges pulsing as he analyzed this move. He called. The flop came. 3, 4, 5 of mixed suits. Jack had nothing but had picked up a straight draw. He bet big. Trelvon called again, studying Jack intently. The turn was another 3. Jack now had even less chance of winning. A logical player would check or make a small bet. Jack pushed forward a massive stack of chips, nearly half his total. In the viewing box, Ambassador Krizat leaned forward. What is the human doing? This bet makes no sense. Trelvon's head ridges showed confusion as he calculated the possibilities. Finally, he called. The river was a 6. Jack had missed his straight. He had 7 high, a hand that would lose to almost anything. Without hesitation, he pushed all his remaining chips into the center. All in. The audience gasped. Trelvon froze, head ridges flashing through colors as he recalculated. By all logic, Jack must have hit his straight, but the Vexillar's calculations showed this was unlikely based on previous play patterns. Your behavior is irrational, Trelvon said. Jack said nothing, keeping his face neutral. Trelvon held ace high, a weak hand, but better than what Jack actually had. All logic said the Vexillar should call and would likely win. But Jack's move had no logical explanation. It violated all the patterns Trelvon had observed. After a long analysis, Trelvon pushed his cards away. I fold. Jack showed his cards. 7 high, a hand that would have lost. The crowd erupted in shock and confusion. Jack had bluffed with nothing, and it worked. That makes no sense, Trelvon said, his voice showing emotion for the first time. Why would you risk everything with no chance of winning? Jack smiled. Because poker isn't just about the cards. Sometimes you have to trust your gut. In the human section, Megan jumped to her feet. That's it. That's how we win. Jack's chip stack grew substantially. He had found the key. Plays that defied logic but worked on a psychological level. The Vexillar couldn't calculate what wasn't rational. Jack continued his unpredictable play throughout the second round. Sometimes he bet big with strong hands. Other times he made small bets, or even folded winning hands. The pattern was that there was no pattern. Trelvon struggled to adapt. Vexillar's head ridges pulsed with rapid calculations as he tried to make sense of Jack's strategy. But every time he thought he understood, Jack would do something completely different. Round 2 to the human representative, the official announced. As Jack won the final hand of the round, the score was tied, 1 round each. The amphitheater buzzed with excitement. Word had spread across the station and throughout the galaxy. Billions were watching the final round. In the diplomatic box, Ambassador Nichols paced nervously. He's tied it up. I can't believe it. Believe it, Megan said. Jack found their weakness. They can't predict what doesn't follow a pattern. A short break was called before the final round. Jack sat alone, trying to stay calm. He knew the Vexillar would make further adjustments. They were incredibly intelligent. He needed to keep changing his approach. Across the room, Ambassador Krizat had joined Trelvan for a private conversation. Their head ridges pulsed rapidly as they spoke in their native language. "The human's play defies logic," Trelvan said. "I cannot calculate a reliable strategy." "Then you must use more than calculation," Krizat replied. "Observe his physical responses. There must be patterns in his behavior even if not in his play." When the final round began, the tension was overwhelming. The entire future of human-alien relations rested on this poker game. Jack received his first hand, a pair of queens, a strong starting hand. He bet conservatively, Trelvan called, his eyes focused not on his cards but on Jack's face, his breathing, his pulse visible in his neck. The flop came. Ace, 7, 3 of mixed suits. Jack's queens were still strong, but an ace could beat him. He bet again, watching Trelvan's head ridges. They showed a new pattern, one he hadn't seen before. The Vexillar was trying something different too. Trelvan raised significantly. Jack called. The turn was another ace. Now there were 2 aces on the board. If Trelvan had an ace, Jack's queens would lose. Jack checked. Trelvan bet big. In the audience, Megan held her breath. This was a dangerous situation. Jack studied his opponent carefully. The Vexillar's head ridges were pulsing in a pattern similar to when he had been strong in previous hands. But was it genuine? Or had Trelvan learned to fake his tells? After careful thought, Jack folded. Trelvan showed his hand. He did have an ace. Jack had made the right move. The next few hands went back and forth with neither player gaining a clear advantage. The chips moved across the table like a tide, flowing one way then the other. As the round progressed, Jack noticed something. Trelvan was now playing more like a human, making occasional, illogical bets, trying to bluff. The Vexillar was adapting, learning human unpredictability. "He's picking up your strategy," Megan warned during a short break. "You need another change." Jack nodded. Time to go back to basics. For the next few hands, Jack played textbook poker. He bet when he had good cards and folded when he didn't. No bluffs, no tricks. This confused Trelvan even more. The Vexillar had prepared for human unpredictability, not simple, straightforward play. The chip counts remained close. As the final hour approached, neither player had a clear advantage. Then came a hand that would change everything. Jack received pocket aces, the best starting hand. At the same time, Trelvan was dealt pocket kings, the second best starting hand. Both players raised pre-flop, building a massive pot before any community cards were dealt. The flop came, 8, 4, 2 of different suits. Nothing that would help either player's hand. Jack bet. Trelvan raised. Jack raised again. Trelvan pushed all his chips in. "All in," Jack called immediately. They showed their cards. "Aces," Jack said, turning over his 2 aces. "Kings," Trelvan replied, revealing his 2 kings. The audience roared. It was a classic poker confrontation, aces versus kings. Jack was ahead, but Trelvan could still win if a king appeared. The entire amphitheater fell silent as the dealer prepared to reveal the turn card. Jack's pair of aces was ahead of Trelvan's pair of kings, but the game could change with a single card. The turn card appeared, a 9 of hearts. It didn't help either player. Now only one card remained. If it was a king, Trelvan would win. If not, Jack would claim victory for humanity. The dealer placed the final river card on the table, a 7 of clubs. No king. Jack's aces had held up. "The winner is Jack Bennett of Earth," the official announced. The human section of the audience erupted in cheers. On screens across Earth, billions of people celebrated. Ambassador Nichols collapsed into his chair in relief. Jack sat motionless for a moment, hardly believing what had happened. He had won. Humans would get a seat on the Interstellar Trade Commission. Earth's future in the galaxy was secure. Trelvon stood and extended a four-fingered hand across the table. You played. Unexpectedly, the Vexillar said. I still do not fully understand your methods. Jack shook the alien's hand. Sometimes winning isn't about perfect calculation. It's about understanding your opponent. Ambassador Krizat approached, his head ridges pulsing with controlled emotion. Congratulations, human. Your species has earned its place on the trade commission. We will honor our agreement. The formal ceremony took place 2 days later. Representatives from all 27 species gathered as humans were officially granted a seat on the Interstellar Trade Commission. Jack stood with Ambassador Nichols and the Earth delegation, still amazed by what his poker challenge had accomplished. After the ceremony, Trelvon found Jack at the reception. I have been analyzing our game, the Vexillar said. Your plays violated. Optimal strategy 63.7% of the time, yet you prevailed. This should not be possible. Jack smiled. Poker isn't just about the cards or the math. It's about psychology. You could see what do humans call it, my tells? Trelvon asked. Sometimes. But more importantly, I played in a way your calculations couldn't predict. The Vexillar was quiet for a moment. Perhaps there is value in this unpredictability. Our species has always prized logical certainty above all else. Megan joined them, carrying drinks. Maybe that's why this game was important, she said. It showed that different approaches can all have value. Later that evening, Jack stood at the same window where the story had begun, looking out at the stars. Ambassador Nichols approached him. The Council wants to know if you'll accept a position as Earth's first representative to the Trade Commission, Nichols said. Jack turned in surprise. Me? I'm just a diplomatic aide, and a former poker player with a troubled past. You're also the man who just won humanity a seat at the table, Nichols replied. You understand both humans and aliens in a way few people do, plus you can tell when they're bluffing. Jack laughed. I'll need to think about it. As Nichols left, Megan came to stand beside Jack at the window. So what's next for the hero of humanity? She asked with a smile. I've been invited to teach poker to a group of aliens tomorrow, Jack said. They want to learn how humans think. Are you going to teach them all your secrets? Jack shook his head. Not all of them. We might need a few advantages in the future. Beyond the window, the vast expanse of the galaxy stretched out before them. For the first time, humanity would have a real voice in shaping its future among the stars. All because of a daring poker challenge and the unique human ability to be unpredictably brilliant when the stakes were highest. You know, Megan said, I think the Vexillar might have learned something valuable too. What's that? That sometimes the best play isn't the most logical one. Jack nodded. That's the thing about poker and maybe about life too. Sometimes you have to trust your gut and take a chance. As they looked out at the stars, Jack knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity's greatest adventure among the stars was only just beginning.